Yo, what is crack-a-lackin' Ridge Runner Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Ridge Runners Live. Tonight, we are joined by two incredible West Virginia runners who both ran in the inaugural Cabin Fever 50K a few weeks back. They're both super connected with the trail running community, and we're excited to learn all about, Cabin Fever, as well as, their love for the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Christopher Simmons and Krista Miller Simmons. How are you both doing?
We're good. We're
doing great.
Excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you on. For those of you that don't know, my name is Wesley Harton, and holding down the fort with me tonight is the sixth man of the nation, high school's football superstar, Cam Wrench. What's up, dude?
I'm gonna have to put a moratorium on those jokes, but tonight's not the night. I am doing really, really great. I definitely didn't lose track of what time the show would be starting here in Mountain Time, and did not have to be woken up from a nap by Wesley.
Well, that did happen, but we're all good and we're all here. And let's just start things off with normally how we start the show, and that's with what is everyone drinking tonight. And if our two guests want to start things off tonight.
I've got an Athletic Brewing Freeway Hazy IPA.
I got water, but I have it in my Cabin Fever 50K cup.
Ooh, show that off.
There we
Love
go.
it.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome. Cam, what about you?
So I have got a Lewis and Clark Brewing Backcountry Scottish Ale here. What about you, Wes?
Fancy. I literally had to look a second ago. It is the Moose Drool Brown Ale Big Sky IPA tonight. So pumped to dive into that. But as always, you can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're on Strava, join our Strava club. It's filled with so many incredible runners from all across the nation, and of course, Ridge Runner Nation. Let's just start off by getting to know you guys and a little bit about your running background before we dive into Cabin Fever specifically. For those of the Ridge Runner Nation that may not know you guys, what was the first time you guys decided to put on a pair of trail shoes, and what was that experience like for you both?
Oh, trail shoes. I don't know. You go first. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say senior year of college, just started getting into running, trying to find a better, healthier lifestyle than what I'd been accustomed to. And I started running in Huntington, just, running around town. And as I started running more, I just wanted to expand to the trails. So I went to Robert's Running Shop. I got suited up in a pair of Brooks Cascadia and took to the trails, and I fell in love and I try to spend the majority of the time there I can as far as running, but hit and miss nowadays.
I guess I'd always been running. I ran track in high school, and then just kind of through college, just kept running. And it was probably grad school. I got talked into doing my first trail race, and it was like, oh, I love it. I love being in the woods. It kind of put everything together.
Yeah. So what did that look like? I mean, was it like, you kind of happened in one race and you were just instantly hooked in the community, or was it one of those situations where, it took a while to kind of work up over distances and kind of work your way into the trail running community?
I know for me, I started with shorter distances, but then I'd done like some road marathons, and then just through group runs and some of my running friends kind of, hey, you should try 50K, see what that's like. And then you do that. And of course, then you want to just keep pushing the distance a bit more.
Yeah. So same, we have a few great sub-ultra trail races in the area that I hopped into and had some fun at, and just kept escalating. 25K. I did a road marathon, then 6 weeks later did my first 50K. And then, it just stayed at that ultra distance since then. And so that's been, for me, I've been running maybe ultras for maybe 8 years now. So maybe at 24, I did my first, and then I've just stayed at that distance pretty much and further since then.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear. It's kind of always something I like to kind of touch on is, everyone's how they found trail running is unique to everyone. I kind of think that's a unique story. I do want to you mentioned that you've done, obviously Christopher, we've been running multiple races together at this point, and we're going to touch about some of those previous races, but let's go into Cabin Fever a little bit here. What was kind of the reasoning for signing up for this race? Obviously it being a first year race.
I think a big thing for us was we just had our second son was born this past year. And so for me personally, it was the timing of it worked out really well that I was able to start training again and kind of get back into it. And we thought, okay, yeah, I should be able to do a 50K by this time. And we love that area.
Yeah, we in the close proximity, it feels like a destination race. It is a destination race, but it's close enough for us where we were able to have family come up. We got a cabin right at Ace, where the race finishes and where the pre-race meeting is kind of the center where all the race activities take place. And we were able to get a cabin there. My parents came up and were able to watch the kids. And of course, she's breastfeeding, so they have to bring the kid on the course and stop at aid station, let her feed the child, and then she continues and runs the rest of the race. But yeah, so the logistics of it for us both to be able to run it have to work out perfectly, and this race absolutely did for us.
Because a lot of times it's a one or the other. It's rare that we both are able to run the same race.
Yeah, that sounds really great. Well, you mentioned about it being, well, it's a destination race that it's real close to home. It's also a destination race that doesn't cost like $2,500 to do. But that's a whole nother thing. But anyways, I'm kind of curious, Krista, to hear a little bit more about, what your thought process was going into this. How far out did you start planning, like post pregnancy, like, oh, I'm going to be back running ultras at this time? Or did you kind of take that a little bit more, one step at a time?
This baby one step at a time. My first, like our oldest, I actually ran an ultra while I was pregnant with him. And so I just kind of kept going. But I've ran through the entire pregnancy, but kind of was easing back into things, just taking my time, going with what I was comfortable with, but still had that desire to get back out there and kind of ramp up the mileage again. And then as far as training, that gets a little complicated when you've got a newborn baby at home, or even as they're getting a little bit older, because we'd have to, we obviously can't go do our training runs at the same time, have to coordinate all of that.
We make it work though.
Yeah, I would definitely say it seems like you do, especially with the results that y'all both had at this race. And it's just, I was really interested in that. Of course, that's not a thing that I'll ever have to worry about, but it's just when you mentioned, like 10 and a half months out, I was kind of thinking like, oh, were you like 6 months into the pregnancy and being like, that's the one, like put it on the calendar, but yeah. And then kind of,
So even when she was pregnant, we're looking at races further down the calendar, dreaming of. But
I think I was even thinking Rim to River while I was pregnant. I was like, okay, can we work that out? Could I be ready for Rim to River?
But there is a lot of a wait to see approach. You just got to see how your body's feeling. It's like not like anything. This is unique, but you have to see how her body was feeling. And we jumped in Canal Trace 25K.
Yeah.
And then that kind of got things accelerated quite a bit going into winter. And we were able to pull this cabin fever off, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. And another, Wesley, and honestly everybody else now, it's honestly been pretty great. Loves to make fun of me for my my illustrious past sports career. But another thing I learned, in like my intro to anthropology courses is that breastfeeding is actually more like calorically costly and more just challenging on the body in general than pregnancy. Did you know that going into this race, and did you plan around that? Did you know, hey, I've got to eat 3 more spring gels this first hour if I'm gonna keep doing this? Or what is the logistics of that? Because we hear those stories and everybody's like, wow, that's a badass mom, but nobody ever thinks of that. Did you like throw a pump in a drop bag and you're just gonna figure this out?
Actually, I had a pump in my drop bag. I had a pump actually in my pack with me. And then we had Chris's parents were meeting us along the course. And so I don't always think about the calories as much, but the hydration for me is a big thing, because I need to make sure that I'm getting the hydration that I need for the run, but so much of what I'm drinking is also going towards milk production. So that's kind of, I probably think about that a lot more than, okay, how many gels do I need? Because that I'm always just, I can always eat.
That is, yeah, that is good to know. And we definitely hope that, yeah, more people think about that kind of stuff, because it's like it's real easy to reshare and be like, wow, that's so cool and so badass, and it's just like there's more logistics, and this is way harder than you. Well, I mean, even me can even honestly think about it. So
It really is a lot of planning, because we had to know, okay, well, how long is it going to take, about how many miles, and how long can I go without having to pump? How long can the baby go without needing to eat? But we were able to work it all out. And I reached out to the race director ahead of time, because they had crew support. But I reached out to Bryant ahead of time and just said, hey, is it okay if I hop in a car and feed my baby along the way? And he, of course, was real supportive about that too.
Yeah, that's great. I can't imagine Bryant doing anything else, but yeah, we'd love race directors who say that. And then, yeah, Wesley, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I want to know now. Take me. You're at Ace Beach. You got the cabin there. Take us into like what the atmosphere was like at Packet Pickup. One of my favorite parts from Rim to River this past year was kind of the atmosphere all day just before the race. Was there a similar kind of atmosphere? What was kind of the vibes there during Packet Pickup this year?
Yeah, I would say you definitely got that similar vibe to Rim to River. The Rim to River being it's pretty much a Friday through Sunday event. You get way more immersed into it. But the Packet Pickup, they have obviously the drinks and the food right there. They had a bunch of giveaways, and then they had the pre-race meeting. So everyone was there and captive. It was almost like a little bit of a different scene than some of the West Virginia races we typically went to pre-pandemic, I guess. But it was great, and really the facilities there allow that atmosphere to happen. Definitely. Like you saw at Rim to River, but it was great. And then it continued into Fayetteville. Starting in downtown Fayetteville was pretty great. And then at the end, everyone kind of gathered and hung around the finish for a while. And that was pretty special, being able to take some time, talk to everyone, meet some new faces, and watch everyone come across the finish line. So.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And kind of, I guess, this being an inaugural race, point to point 50K run starting in downtown Fayetteville, running 2 Ace Adventures, had to be a super special course. And so I kind of want to just dive into your individual races now at this point. We can kind of just like bounce back and forth between the two of you. Krista, if you want to start off by just kind of taking us through what the starting line kind of felt like, the atmosphere, and then what the early miles of the race were like.
For me, I was really excited. It was, I love Fayetteville, so being out there, it was nice and chilly. I love cold weather, so can't ever complain about that. But yeah, I was just the start, just real excited, and then we've spent some time running in the city park there, so getting to hit the road section there and then hop into the park was nice. And I know he's kind of in a different part. I'm kind of middle of the pack. He's up towards the front, so it's probably a different experience up there.
But no, it's similar. It was great. Starting in downtown Fayetteville, you kind of, the first start of the race, I was waiting to see who took off. I know Alex Miner, who's from Huntington, and so I knew he was going to kind of go after it. But it seemed like, for the first maybe 15 seconds, there was a bit of hesitation, and everyone, then they went off and took off. And by the time I got to City Park Trails, I couldn't see them. But no, it was really cool hitting those city park trails. I'm familiar with that. I think we, if I'm saying it correctly, popped down across Wolf Creek, and then had that Arrow Camp. Was it? Arrowhead. I'm sorry, Arrowhead Aid Station. And there's a great group of people there. Got a lot of energy, and took off down through and had the beautiful views of the rim and the ridge. That was one of the things that was special about this race. You could see kind of like you knew you were going from Fayetteville to these city park trails to the rim or the ridge, whatever you want to call it. And you're running across that, then you drop down to the river. Then you had, what 6, beautiful miles when you're running here in the gushing of the gorge or the gorge of the river. And then you darted up into I'm not saying that right, Ace Adventure. And that's when things got really gnarly as far as my legs getting murdered. But, but
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And obviously, this race taking place in February kind of allows for, I'm guessing, more open views throughout the course, where the view is basically just epic the entire race.
Epic and open.
Definitely. Just beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, they were like never ending for the stretch. Once you can, I guess, pop back on the ridge for the first time. I mean, that had to be I don't know, 5-6 mile stretch. It all blends together. But there's a significant amount of time you just had beautiful views in the gorge, and it didn't get any worse. It didn't get any worse. Running along that river was some of the best running I've done in my life. I'll take that any day.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And kind of take us through, I guess, how are you feeling in these moments? Do you have any adversity in the early miles that you kind of face and you're like, oh man, maybe I'm in for a long day here? Or is it kind of just smooth sailing through the early part of the race and kind of just waiting for stuff to develop later on?
For me, I really wasn't sure what to expect because it was my first race in a while, or my first longer distance in a while. So I really didn't have any expectations for myself. I was feeling good. I don't know. There's, a nice course, great views, the aid stations were great. And I think that kind of just kept me pumped up and feeling good.
Yeah. So I started taking off a little bit, maybe after the first couple miles, started kind of like, I want to get, positioned up here a little bit. And then about mile 5 or 6, I was settled into my own race and ran pretty contained until I got down to the river. When I got down the river, I knew I wanted to, take advantage of some of that time. And by the time I got to mile 18, 19, my legs needed a change of. You're just flat running that whole time, and I was, trying to move as well as I could through that period. And I started to hit some low points in there. I got some food. I got some fuel at the aid station at mile 19.
And then you're heading straight up.
Yeah. But I saw one of my good friends, Jonathan Hathaway, there, and that was a morale booster, just seeing a familiar face for the first time in a while. And we ran for a couple minutes together. And of course, at that point, everyone's running different paces. So we split up. And yeah, it was definitely rough through Ace Adventure for me. But I moved relatively well. It was just the roughest part of the race, but I'll take it, relatively speaking,
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'm kind of curious for both of you, and Krista, you mentioned this already. Christopher is more towards the front of the pack. You're more in the middle of the pack, and I'm curious as to what your kind of self-talk looks like. Krista, I know you said that you didn't really seem to have any low moments, and Christopher, you did. What does it look like for you mentally when you're going through these? Or Krista, what does it look like mentally when you're going like, wow, this is all just going really, really well? Because I feel like if I was in a race and that happened, I'd be like, something's about to go wrong. Like what is happening? Things can't go well.
Well, and I mean, of course, there are definitely low moments, but I think a big thing for me was I was just happy to be out there and just able to talk to myself. Okay, you can still do this. Yeah, you had a baby. Yeah, everything's a little bit different, but you're still able to do this. You're out here, enjoy it. And then of course I'm wondering about him the whole time, wondering how he's doing. And
yeah, my low moments, I try to smile, like even if there's nothing to smile about. I just literally try to physically smile and try to just be very like fortunate and grateful that you're out there. You have a great opportunity. I have like my coach is under the happy runner at School of Thought, and so they kind of push the embrace the moment, be happy, and show up to the start line happy, healthy, and then run hard. And so for me, I don't know. I guess at this point, part of it's the suffering is kind of part of why you sign up for it. You go out there to run hard and find certain limits and kind of continue on through that. So I just remember that when it happens. That's why you're actually doing it. So
I know for me, it's probably after I went through Poncho Rim, and I was texting to kind of keep them on the loop because I had no idea what time to tell them to be at the finish line. But I texted, and Chris texted me back and was like, "Oh, we're heading to the finish line," and that kind of gave me a little a little boost, like, okay, they're heading that way. I gotta just keep going through this, and I'll get to see them all when I get there.
Yeah, that's a really great answer. And I mean, even for folks who aren't from that kind of like happy runner school of thought, right? There's evidence in, you know, like the scientific journals. I remember they did a study where they got runners on the treadmill and they literally told them to smile, and like the RPE goes down. It not for women in this study, but that was, you know, you can imagine being a woman on a treadmill and you don't know what's happening, and a bunch of men in lab coats are telling you to smile. So there's the evidence, the like the peer reviewed evidence for that. But one thing I'm curious about is, Krista, when you mentioned, you know, oh well, I'm thinking about Chris out there. You know, tell us a little bit more about that. Does that motivate you, knowing that he's also out there at a race, or that you're going to see him at the next aid station if he's crewing you at a different race?
Oh, I think definitely it's motivation. Just, and then I'm just hoping he's, you know, having a good race himself. I know there was a chance that he was going to meet us at Concho,
Run, but you were too fast.
but and I figured at that point I was like, okay, I didn't think I'd probably be here at this point. But even just knowing that, and knowing that he was going to be at the finish line, was definitely motivation, and just kind of pepped me up a little bit. And knowing that he had finished, obviously, and things were good on his end.
Chris, what about you from the other perspective?
Yeah, for me, you know, you're obviously thinking about her the whole time while she's out there, but she's tough out there. I've watched her a lot of races. I mean, some tough races, and she's very steady, very consistent. So I don't ever worry about her in the sense of, you know, she's going to have a bad race, that she's not going to make it through this. I always have tremendous confidence that she's going to make it through the race, make it through the event. But I'm definitely aware of her being out there and thinking about her. And then, you know, kind of what she mentioned at the end, when I get to those last few miles, I'm definitely running to get to the boys. You know, I just, you know, I'm just going to hurt regardless. Let's just get to the finish line, see the kids, and, you know, they'll be happy, and, you know, we'll have it accomplished, you know.
Even going through the finish line, Tucker, our oldest, like, ran up and gave me a big hug, and it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely adorable. And I kind of want to jump into a similar related topic to this, is, you know, kind of having that like lifelong training partner, like you both have. What does it look like, you know, in finding balance in your own schedules to, you know, find time to training? And then does it also motivate you in your running, you know, having someone right there the entire way?
I think one thing that's great is that we both understand each other's need to get out there and run. And I don't think either one of us ever, there's no hesitation when the other's like, hey, I really got to get a long run in this weekend. I think you're both pretty supportive of each other with that. The coordination gets tough because sometimes we're not spending as much time together, or Chris is getting up at 4 a.m. to head out for runs, you know, before work, so then I can get out after work, or on the weekend, if we're both doing a long run the same day or same weekend, it can kind of cut into our time together.
Yeah, but it also gives us each, you know, our own one-on-one time with the boys. So you just, you know, find the best out of it, and then you really engage with them in that one-on-one time you have with them, and make the best of that. And I feel like that if it's one of those things that running is our outlet, you know, that's our major outlet. So once we do that and we're immersed into it, and when we're doing it and engaged in it, it makes us better parents and better husband, better wife. And I think it's important to have an outlet, have something that, you know, outside of your career and outside of just raising a family, that you can think about and focus on. I think it gives you some balance.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And I kind of got a two-parter follow-up here, you know, which is kind of, you know, earlier on in the relationship and sort of before kids, right? Were you two running together a lot? Was it kind of, you know, 3 or 4 days a week, or was it only, you know, 1 or 2 times a week, and you're like, hey, sometimes I got to go out the door and go be alone for a long run, you know, because that's going to give me time to process, and I need to not be that way. And now that you do have kids, did knowing, like, oh, we're not going to have run dates 4 days a week anymore, did that factor into the convo about starting a family? And do you ever, schedule, like a run date, like, hey, kids got to go see grandma and grandpa because mom and dad have to go for a long run together?
I don't think we've ever been on a run together.
No, ever.
And we'll save that for retirement. We'll save the running dates for post kids. No, we literally met at an aid station at an ultra, and all those cliche things of that nature. But we don't run together. No, we each do our own thing, and so we each have our own relationship with running. I guess it's just.
But yeah, I think I've seen you. I mean, we've passed each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Running. Going opposite
we've like dropped the kids off at grandparents and went to the park and went our separate ways on runs, but no, never been together.
Never had a run date. We should do that.
Yeah. That's a really great answer. And I think I really appreciate that one too, because, there's even my past relationship, there's like a certain level of pressure around that kind of stuff. And you guys you were laughing the whole time. So that's really great. We do have a chat question from Caleb Bowen. He wants to know, how is that hill going up from Erskine Aid to the Concho Rim there?
Just what I need. I kept telling myself, I was like, I just need a change of terrain. This flat terrain is I'm running too fast on it. It's wearing me out. And I was wrong. I did not need that change of paces. It was steep. It was straight up. And but I would say this, I like I said, I saw a buddy there, and that helped my morale. And I got through that quicker than I anticipated. I made it out to be a bigger deal than it was. So yeah, but gosh, I paid for that the rest of the race. My last 4 miles suffered because of that, I'm sure. How about you?
Yeah, it was, like you said, I knew that there was going to be some climbing. I'm notorious for not looking at elevation maps because I just like to just go with it. And that's probably not the smartest thing, but it works for me. So I just go with it. But I knew that there was going to be a climb at that point, and it was a little more than I was expecting. But once I got through it, it was like, okay, I'm glad that was over with.
Yeah, no, I'm personally still having nightmares from that climb during Rim's River myself. So I can't even imagine during a 50K when you're trying to go super quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know how when puppies sleep, they'll their legs twitch and stuff, and they kind of start to bark. When Wesley takes naps on the couch, he does that. I've noticed.
It's because of Rim's River. It's because of that climb. So I guess take us into what the final couple of miles of this race looked like for you both. Kind of the emotions of the day. Realizing what you were going to accomplish in just a few moments' time, and then what the finish line kind of was like for both of you. And Christopher, if you want to start off with this one.
Yeah, I was just looking forward to being done at that point. To be honest, I was looking forward to seeing the boys, and I was kind of always like, I hope they're there, hope they're at the finish, and not really knowing exactly when I was going to pop out. I kind of always lied to myself at the end of races, like, oh, it'll probably be 32 and a half or something like that. So once I started coming down that road and I saw it, I think I was a little bit surprised at that point. And then I tried to, pick it up a little bit, and definitely feeling, happy with where my fitness is at this point in the calendar. Definitely happy to get it done. Felt really gratified with kind of the course and the scenery, and really what the event had to offer. So yeah, I was pretty psyched there coming through the end. About you?
Yeah, that last bit, I was kind of happy, like, okay, and I kind of said it before, but okay, I can still do this. I've still got this. I was feeling better than I was expecting to, because my training really, I hadn't gotten the training in that I'd really hoped to. So I was just happy with how it was going, and I knew that Chris and the boys would be there at the finish, and just excited to be there. Excited to see some friends at the finish line too that we hadn't really seen in a while. Got to visit a little bit. Just that social aspect of being out there.
Yeah, no, I love that you kind of touched on that social aspect and that community aspect of the race, because obviously, it's such a special part of what they're building down there. So it's super cool that you guys felt that. Kind of one thing I kind of want to transition to, kind of similar to that, is the community that you guys have in your own backyard. The Huntington, West Virginia community itself, has a lot of stout ultra runners. And I remember, Chris, you talked to me about it at Mohican last year, and we were sharing some miles together, just about, everything that kind of goes on there and how special it is. So I kind of want to just talk about, what does it look like for someone on the outside looking in who's never been there, and never kind of seen, maybe performances from other people or whatnot. How would you describe it to someone?
We have a great culture and a great group of runners that we've developed in this area. And I think I think about a lot, like what makes us, I think we're a special running community. I really do. And why in this part of the country with, maybe some of the labels that we do have, why are we maybe our little community defying odds? And I think we have a great local running shop. That we have one in Huntington, one in Charleston, Robert's running shop. And I think, he himself has been a trail runner, ultra runner, and he's excelled at a high level. And I think he kind of laid the groundwork and kind of showed some people that, what the ultra sport has to offer.
Kind of contagious.
It's contagious, yeah. And he runs it hard. And I think that, a lot of us that like Alex Miner and Dan Green and Caleb Bowen and Holly Ann, they run hard. They run these races, and that's how Robert approaches the sport. And I think that's one critical aspect. I think another aspect is we have an ultra in our backyard, the Canal Trace 50K, 25K, and 10K. It takes place here right in a local community. It's not a destination race as much as like maybe Cabin Fever is, in which you're getting a lot of people from outside the area traveling to. You do get that at Canal Trace, but you also get a lot of people from right along the area where the races ran. And then you also get people, volunteering at the aid station and becoming immersed in the community in some way. And the next thing you know, they're popping in the 10K or the 25K. And like she said, it's contagious. And then it spreads from there. And they're running other WVMTR races and other local trail races. And they come back for the 50K. So I think that, we have some of the groundwork laid in that way. And then it's spread. We have Roman Run Company that is taking place in our backyard. They're all local West Virginia guys right in this area. And, I don't know. I think that's definitely part of it in my mind. But
yeah, I think a lot of it, I mean, even, you go out to Barbersville Park to go for a run, and you're seeing a lot of those same faces that you're seeing when you go in Roberts, or that you're seeing when you go to Canal Trace. So,
and I'll say this, I think everyone is genuinely very supportive of each other. Like, even you might not always get to share miles with certain people, but we have a group chat on Instagram. I think either Caleb or Ryan Ramsey, one of the two, they started it. And everyone's always showing love anytime it's somebody's turn to race. And I think the support and the love that people are showing, it feels genuine. I think it is, and I think that goes a long way. We're willing to line up and want to race and have fun, but like I said, there's obviously a good percentage of us that want to line up and race hard too. And I think it's contagious. Yeah.
And there's definitely, with that community, there's always, I feel like it's easy to find people to run with, people to get some miles in with. I know you're doing a lot. Since the boys have been born, I'm not doing as much of that, but I used to always, you could always find a group. You could always, I want to get 20 miles in this weekend on Saturday. I mean, you can always find somebody to join you.
And you can always find somebody to motivate you. Everyone's always working towards a race. Everyone's always working towards a goal, trying to do something new. And I think that's motivating. If you get into a rut, you get into a point in your training where you don't have something on the calendar per se, you're still seeing these other people that are getting out and having fun, and makes you want to.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that answer, and appreciate you guys for both diving deep on that topic. Kind of one thing I want to kind of dive deeper into, though, and you guys kind of mentioned, is the Canal Trace and that impact that it's had on both of your running careers. Talk a little bit about that and what your involvement is in the race currently.
So yeah, this will be the first year we'll be part of the race committee for Canal Trace. Corey Richardson started the race, And with the help of Danny and Joey Jarvis, they've kept. I'm not even sure how many years it's been going now, but then this year they've handed off to Bob Luther, who'll be the race director, and he's put together a committee full of essentially a bunch of ultra runners with a lot of experience, whether it's Western States, UTMB, the local East Coast races. Everyone on that race committee, or most people on that race committee, have a lot of ultra experience, and the people that maybe don't have specific ultra experience, they have experience with the trail and maintenance, and they've been involved with the race for a number of years. So Bob's really put together a great group. We have the race has been associated with Robert's Running Shop and the Roman Run Company for a couple of years, and that relationship will continue. And we're really excited about kind of putting our own little stamp on the race and keeping a great race going. It's the course itself is a classic Appalachian ultra. It's got beautiful spool track, a little bit of double track, some fast gravel miles, just kind of what you would expect when you go to it, West Virginia, one of these races in this area. And it's really unique to, I kind of thought about some comparables for it, and it's a pretty unique race. And but it's a great ultra, great 50K race, and the 25K, a very challenging 25K course. Has a lot to offer, and camping right on the Boy Scout. It finishes at the Boy Scout camp. They shuttle you to the start, whether you're doing the 50K or the 25K, and we have camping right there. So if people want to show up, have camping. We'll have the pre-race meeting Friday, giveaways, and some fun stuff. So.
I know for me, it was my first 50K that I did. So my first ultra was Canal Trace. So it's always kind of holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's always, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those kind of first races are always really special to kind of go back to and see what's changed. But one thing I'm curious about when it comes to Canal Trace is how does it kind of feel now in terms of sort of like looking at, I guess, and career is a strange word to use for it because definitely doesn't feel like a career to me personally, but like your career as ultra runners to, you've started here and now you're on the board of this race. What does this mean to you two emotionally to be essentially like a part of the leadership that's going to keep this race going and keep growing this community and showing what this community has to offer?
I think definitely like your heart's in it more when you've got those special ties to it. And I know for you, even it's literally in your backyard of where you grew up.
Yeah, no, it's special. It kind of, validates the relationship we have with the running community locally, that, we're valued enough to be asked to come on the board and help help keep this race going, keep it sustainable, grow it as much as we can. But no, it really validates that relationship we've had with the running community and the, maybe the time we put into it and, the time we're going to continue to put into it in this race. No, but it's really special race for both of us. I mean, I ran it a handful of times.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that we've both run it multiple times.
Probably run it less now. I'm on the board, but
so I feel like we know it pretty well too.
Yeah. And I like to so the Canal Trace is a trail that was originally built. I think it was built by the Boy Scouts themselves, and it's a point-to-point trail. Markers throughout, really well marked, so you can hop on it at any time and get a great run. If we ever need a 30-mile training run, that's what we do. We'll hop on that and try to run it point to point, shuttle cars, and get your butt whipped, on a great course. And so I love the course itself, but the race is special too.
Well, we're super glad that you guys are a part of the board now for that race. The passion you guys, have showed is only going to take the race to the next step and the higher level. So we're excited to kind of continue to see the race grow and through your guys' leadership. So we're excited for that. Kind of going into the future now, kind of talking about, what's up next for both of you. What races do you guys have next on the calendar for the rest of the year? And what are some of your big goals when you look towards the future?
You got the next big one.
So I got Hellbender 100 in May.
Let's go.
So I'm really super excited about that. Probably the most I've thought about a specific race, as far as, looking into the logistics of it and the actual course. And I'm getting really excited about it. I got less than 10 weeks to go. So really about to step up the mileage and really step up the elevation gain in my runs. It's got 22,000 feet of vert, I think, and more elevation loss than gain, going through right outside of Asheville, North Carolina. So really excited to do that. My fall calendar is kind of up in the air right now. I have 100 on the schedule right now, but it's going to be 3 weeks. Well, I'll let you go.
Well, I'm planning on doing Rim to River, so that's kind of where my focus is right now. I've got Highland Sky in June, so I'll have that in between. But as far as like my big one coming up will be Rim to River, and that'll be my first 100 or my first attempt at 100. So up until this point, I've done West Virginia Trilogy, but that's kind of my furthest.
Yeah, the trilogy is a 3-day event, 50K on Friday, 50 miler on Saturday, and a half marathon on Sunday. So 90 some odd miles in 3
over
days.
The course of 3 days.
So, and she got third place at that one. Right? Yeah, so that was a good event. And that's honestly, if I don't do a 100 miler in the fall, I would like to do the trilogy event instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his up in the air in the fall is because we're deciding if he's gonna.
I don't think I'll have
he's
time.
Gonna pace me at Rim to River.
Yeah, and then the schedule will get a little, it'll be pretty busy. Both of us having 100 milers 3 weeks apart.
We might actually get that run together.
Yeah.
Finally, Yeah, and I gotta say, Krista, yeah, we know from experience, Wesley knows Rim to River is a great 100 miler to run, and I know it's a great 100 miler to attempt. So
you better come back.
Oh, it's on the calendar eventually. I don't know what year it ends in. It's 2020 something, and I will be back. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited. Go for it, Krista.
I'm excited to be at his next 100 miler because I obviously wasn't there at Mohican, so I'll be excited to be there and help crew him and kind of get to see all those highs and lows.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be some lows. I'm excited. I'm really excited about it.
No, I think it's Hellbender should be a breeze for you with the races that you've done and the accomplishments that you have, Chris.
Oh, thanks. I remember that about 78 miles.
just play the clip back in your head, and I'm sure it'll get you out of whatever you need.
We'll actually clip it and put just that on Spotify for you, and you can play it on loop, like in your headphones.
Yeah, I think that'll do it.
Cam, what do you got here?
Yeah, so I think it's about time to launch into our quick questions that we usually do to end the show here. And the very first one, this isn't one that we scripted, but you mentioned it earlier, and I just got to know. You say you met at an aid station at a race. What race did you meet at, and what aid station was it?
It was Frozen Sasquatch in Canal State Forest, and I was actually getting ready to sweep the course, and he was.
Yeah, I was working aid.
Aid stations, and it's a 2-loop course, so I was waiting to start sweeping and just kind of hanging out at the aid station.
Yeah, and I was at the start finish aid
Talking
station.
To this guy.
It was the gravy aid station. I didn't even have to hike into. But no, yeah, it was in Canal State. Yeah, Canal State Forest in Charleston, West Virginia. Yeah, 50K and 25K. It's the first Saturday in January. It's part of the WVMTR races, and yeah,
it was nice and snowy. And
and then we were friends for a couple more years.
Yeah, it took a couple of years before.
Yeah.
Things progressed.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah, well, as two single guys, I'm adding that to the calendar right now for me and Wesley. We're gonna go volunteer there next year.
I think I might have hit the lightning in the bottle there, but I don't think it's like I would recommend getting it over. But it might work for you. I don't know.
Yeah,
For me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And so then, what's one thing that you can't leave an aid station without?
At Cabin Fever, it was those cheese quesadillas. It was chilly out there. I grabbed those quesadillas, I'd eat one and throw another one in my pocket and keep going.
For any aid station, it's calories, but like I figure you can get through most things if you just have some calories in you. You can be cold and or too hot, or you can have some chafing, you have some blisters. You can get through all that if you have calories in you. But when things get deep in a race, I'd always take a good swig of some Coca-Cola at an aid station, get that sugar rush, get me at least away from that aid station before I do anything stupid. And but yeah, calories is just what I gotta have always.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And, I recently found out that Cam's actually a Mountain Dew guy at aid stations. He actually doesn't go for the Coke, which I think is a very controversial decision.
You know what?
I would go for the Coke.
I'm actually a Pepsi guy, which I thought that was controversial.
So what?
Yeah. Oh wow.
Gosh. This
Mountain Dew, this is kind of mind blowing. I didn't know you could go for that much sugar,
That's actually Wesley's misunderstanding. What my statement was, I was talking about Mountain Dew's endemic sort of nature in my hometown in Eastern Ohio. But I do want to point out that this guy has had Pepsi brought to him at aid stations because they were only going to have Coca-Cola on the course.
It was like a first 50K ever. I did bring my own Pepsi just because I prefer drinking that and didn't want to mess things up on race day. Now I can.
I put sweet tea in a drop bag before, just so I'd have that.
Oh,
That's
man.
awesome.
Maybe they should let y'all run an aid station at that race next year.
Probably, yeah.
All right. And what is your weirdest mid-race hallucination, or the strangest thing you've seen somebody eat at an aid station?
I know this guy who he eats fish before every race. He even at Cabin Fever was telling me like, yeah, I ate some cold fish on my way to the race today. I don't know if he brings any with him to eat at the aid stations or not.
Do you know what kind of fish?
Oh god.
I have no idea. I didn't ask. I just let it go at that.
Okay, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, if he got like, he went ice fishing and he got some perch or something, I'm like, that's reasonable. But like, if he just like cranked open a can of tuna in the car, I'm worried about him a little bit. Buddy, are you okay? Like,
Yeah, I've never hallucinated during a race. I've definitely like seen some, maybe like minor things that weren't probably there, but I'm gonna chalk that up to like blurry contacts or something. But and weirdest thing, I think it's odd when people drink liquor at races. I don't know, like I'm just sitting there in like a different mentality at that point when people are sitting there taking back shots. Yeah, that kind of blows my mind. But
and I'm probably the one that get
yeah,
you
no
know
way.
those shots halfway through this.
But yeah, that blows my mind. So no hallucinations, nothing too super odd.
well, that is good to know. I've been trying to sell some people on the Warhammer races because they had Angel's Envy at the aid station. They were offering that to me at mile 11, which is way too early to give a guy bourbon in a race, even if it is Tennessee. But apparently that's not going to work on you, Chris.
Yeah, no.
So, what ball sport do you think that you could beat most other ultramarathon runners in?
Yeah.
I'm going to go basketball, despite a hiatus from it for a while. But I used to play a lot of basketball when I was younger, traveling teams and stuff. So I'll go with that.
I'm gonna say kickball. I play on a kickball league here in Huntington, so I feel like I would hope
Yeah,
my
I mean, you're on
team's
a
like
team.
undefeated in our league, so team bag tags are pretty badass. So
We need to have a total side conversation and an additional podcast about that because I want to get into the kickball world and this summer. I think it's going to kind of like what the next adventure is going to be. Talk about what is the mentality like when you're stepping up to home plate on the kickball and massive Saturday afternoon game with a ton of people watching.
hey, I mean it's a blast.
They're serious. Like they'll go to Vegas.
We used to go to Vegas every year for like the
it's ridiculous.
championships and stuff.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Recess sport taken to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I am not going to beat anybody at either of those, I think. So I'm glad y'all are out there. And so for those of you, if you're listening to the show and you're still here, you've probably heard this one before, but we've got a Spotify playlist of all the songs that we get answers to for these questions. And if you're looking to have just not a terrible time, but definitely not a great time on your next run if you're a music person, just turn this one on. You can find it on my Spotify. But if ultra running had walk-up songs like baseball, what would yours be?
You like Break My Stride. That song from the 80s. I don't know who sang it.
Okay. I know what song you're talking about.
You know what song I'm talking about?
I'm going to go
I do,
Into
yeah.
the Road, Machine Gun Kelly.
Okay.
Ooh.
Those are two different answers, but two welcome additions to this playlist. I'm excited to add them on there.
I had an MGK conversation with someone a few weeks back, and they didn't know who he was when I said that. And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And I had to say Machine Gun Kelly, and then they knew who he was. But that little nickname for the Cleveland rapper didn't make his way all the way out to Montana, unfortunately. So we got to start repping the brand more out here.
Yeah, he's from your neck of the woods. No, man, Machine Gun Kelly, he's huge. How do you not know him?
Big questions I was asking.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Love that answer.
All right. And so this is, my personal favorite question to always ask. But it's, if you could run with one person in the history of the world, even if they aren't a runner, we're going to assume they're keeping your pace. You're going to have a nice conversational long run with them. Who would it be and why?
I'll go with my dad's dad. He had a stroke when I was relatively young, so didn't really get to have as much meaningful, time and conversations and kind of understand his motives and, drives in life. We'll go with him.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of a little more lighter than that. I might go with Chris Simmons just because, like I've said a bunch of times, we don't ever get to run together. So it might be kind of fun to be out there side by side running together.
Much better answer than that.
Oh, I think they're both good answers, but second one I did say aw. So yeah, we want to thank y'all just so much for coming on the show and sharing with us. We were super appreciative, and it was just such a wonderful time. Right now, the floor is yours. If you have any sponsors or social media or anything you want to plug, now's your chance.
Shout out to Huntington Running Scene, Robert's Running Shop, Roman Run, and then if you're looking for a race, August 6th, I believe, the first Saturday in August. Come check out Canal Trace, 50K, 25K, and 10K. We should have something for everyone. It'll be a great race. It really will. You won't be disappointed. You'll get some sweet swag. We'll have some good giveaways, and we'll have some pre-race festivities, some camping. So come check it out. We're on Instagram, Facebook. The race is on Ultra Sign Up. That's my plug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're listening to this later on the podcast versions, Kanawha is spelled Kanawha, which is why I was pronouncing Kanawha, and had to be corrected when the show started, and lost all of my cred in West Virginia, I think, on that one. But that's okay, because you should definitely get out there and run that race. It seems like just a wonderful time, and maybe the Frozen Sasquatch race as well. Get out there and find love like Wesley and I are going to next year. But yeah, we want to thank you guys again so much for coming on tonight, and thank you if you listen to the show, if you were in the live chat. We really appreciate you tuning into all this stuff that we're doing. If you've made it this far, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever later, we love you too. But with that, good night, and we will see you on the next one.
Thanks for having us.